If there was a title to my drash, it's The Fear of the Unknown. In the very beginning of the Parsha, we read the story. This is how the book of Shemot begins. It says, and these are the names. And then there's a listing of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then after that, we read that a new king rose up over Egypt. And this king did not know Joseph. And how that king reacted to him not knowing Joseph is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about this morning. The fear of the unknown. Now, when I read these words, sometimes it's hard for me to make sense. How is it possible that somebody did not know somebody? In our world that we live in today, this is the age of information. This is the era of knowledge. I don't know about you, but we can learn everything we want to learn if we don't know it within seconds. I see this all the time in my classroom, where I would be talking about some topic and my students pull out their phone and Google something right away, and they immediately become experts on whatever topic I'm talking about. Why? Because they're reading Wikipedia article as I'm talking to them. So this is the age that we live in. It's a digital age of information. The notion sometimes, this is how we are disconnected, so to say, from the past. The notion that the Pharaoh did not know about Joseph is kind of a strange one. How can you not know about this? This is a big deal. This has happened. This man saved the whole country from famine. He was instrumental in devising the agricultural salvation plan for the whole country and for the entire world, actually. Egypt has become the richest and the most powerful country because of Joseph. Yet, as Joseph fades away, the new Pharaoh rises up, and he does not know him. So again, for me, it's a little bit hard, because I'm a modern person, to say, how is it possible he didn't know this? Because we keep history, right? We remember the names. If you go back and look at the presidents and vice presidents of this country, you'll probably remember a few generations back, right? I can start naming them and renaming them, and you'll say, oh, okay, I remember that guy, and the image will actually come up in your head because, well, thank goodness for television, you probably have seen them before if you've never met them in person. But in antiquity, not so. People are forgotten much faster. So Joseph was forgotten. And while for us, it's hard to imagine that, that was the reality of the day. I was browsing the internet recently, and you know how there's all sorts of, on YouTube, there's suggested videos that pop up for you. Not something necessarily you search for, but something that YouTube thinks you're searching for, or something YouTube thinks you might like. So this video pops up, and it says, how to disappear completely from the internet. The topic just piqued me. I'm like, this is fascinating, this is interesting. This person went on to talk about, for a long time, it was a long video, talking about how to be forgotten, essentially. And in our day and age, in the age of the internet, where everybody is on the internet, everyone is on the web, your social media, if you have a cell phone, you're on the radar. People know you, they know who you are, they track you, your cell phone, your email, all these different things. Every time I visit the website, I get specialized ads popping up at me, things like that. You realize after a while that you're being tracked, and after a while you just kind of go along with it. You're like, okay, that's fine with me. That's just how things are. But this guy put together this long video, elaborate video, and the whole point of the video was how to be unknown. So imagine this, in our age, there are some people who want to be unknown. So he wanted to be unknown. Nothing nefarious. He just didn't like the idea that everybody knew who he was and where he was and when he was, and all these companies were in his business. So he says, I wanted to come up with a challenge of how to be basically unknown, how to be lost, how to be forgotten on the internet. And so after watching this long video, he goes through all these different iterations, different things that he tried or he thought about doing. He basically says, it is much harder than you imagine. He says, I realized I can't really be unknown. I can't really be forgotten. There are many information brokers on the internet. I can't even pay them money. It's expensive. He says, some companies, I can pay them money, and basically they'll scrub the information about me, and it's gone. He says, but there are some companies that will not take money. And that's it. Your information is out there. And he says there's nothing you can do about it. So you know what his genius solution was to the end of this? He says, I cannot be unknown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be known for something I'm not. So he decided to change his profile, and his entire video outlined his strategy for opening as many social accounts as he possibly can and putting pictures of random people that do not look anything like him on the internet, okay? His name, other people's photos. Signing up for strange interests, okay? Joining groups, inviting complete strangers to be his friends, people that he would never met in his whole life. So basically what he did is he spoofed the internet. He spoofed his profile. He created a profile that no longer represented him. Nothing like him at all. His friends, you think, oh, I know who this person is. You know how they tell you, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, right? Tell me the people that you are associated with and I will tell you your political leanings. I will tell you everything about you. So he basically said, you know what? I'm just going to make up a bunch of random things that are absolutely not true about me. I'm going to invent hobbies that are not mine and basically confuse the internet. If I can't get lost, if I cannot be unknown, at least I will become unknowable. And nobody's going to really know except my real friends who I really am. But everyone, if they're going to look me up on the internet, they're going to find a bunch of gibberish that will make absolutely no sense. So this is what's happening these days. This is the world that we're living in. But back to this idea of being unknown in antiquity, in the ancient times. A new king rose up, as we read in the Parsha, and he did not know Joseph. And his lack of knowledge led him to do something. His lack of knowledge of the Hebrews, who are these people, led him to panic. Because his next decision opened it up for him. What did the king ask? He said, what if? What if these people, whom I do not know their motives, what if these people become our enemies? What if they align themselves with our enemies? And what if they help our enemies overcome us? Look how numerous they are. These people are quite large. They've grown. Within our country's borders, there's this people group that I do not know, I don't understand. So his next decision, his fear led him to panic. And panic led him to a decision to oppress Israelites. He decided to act through oppression of the unknown. So, as a result, we have the entire story of Exodus unfolding in front of us. Because if Pharaoh did not make that decision, how things would have gone, I do not know. So Torah says, however, as we continue reading, that the more Pharaoh oppressed Israelites, the more they grew and multiplied. So the very thing that he was pursuing, he was hoping to dwindle down the population of this people group that he did not know anything about. He was hoping to oppress them and that they would shrink in size. But the more he oppressed them, the more labor he imposed upon them. He says they were to build the cities and make, bricks and mortar and all these things. But the more he oppressed them, the more people increased in number. That was not the effect Pharaoh desired. So as a result, eventually the situation became even worse. Pharaoh oppressed people. People cried out to God. And what happened next is what we read from the Torah today. God calls Moses. Moses stands in front of the burning bush, and God tells him, I want you to be the one to lead people out of Egypt. This is their moment to leave the country. And who knows, if Pharaoh did not oppress the people, maybe that wouldn't have happened that way. But as a result, Moses answered the call, went to Pharaoh, said, let my people go, and you guys know the rest of the story. That's what we celebrate during Passover, right? So that's how the story goes. All of that is because of the actions that Pharaoh undertook because of panic, because of the fear of the unknown. You see, often our actions that we take brought from panic, actions that flow from panic and fear, they do not work. They do not bring us the results that we desire. At the moment, it seems like this is the solution, but we're making a bad decision for a wrong reason. And as a result, it doesn't work. It didn't work for Pharaoh back then. A lot of times, it does not work for us either. So, thinking about this story leads me to wonder, as I ponder this Parsha, I realized that I kind of fell into the same trap sometimes. I look back at my life and I think how many times I made decisions that were kind of based on fear of the unknown, the panic, or the better one. You know, we don't like to call it panic. We call it hypothetical thinking. The what if. What if? How many of you caught yourself thinking when you were faced with something, what if? What if? Okay, if you haven't, you're not human. Okay? We all fall into the same trap. Now, what if Pharaoh would have done what you and I would do today? Did a little research on the Hebrews, right? What if he looked them up? Today, you and I have the benefit of looking people up. We can just quickly look them up, and there's their Facebook profile and things like that. Whatever we do today. But you can find out information. What in his day and age, what if he followed the same thing? What if he asked around? Who are these Hebrews? Why are they speaking their own language? Why are they living in one country? And how did this happen? And guess what would have happened? His not knowing Joseph would have been remedied, because somebody in his court would have said, oh yeah, there was this guy Joseph. He did this and this and this for us. And all of a sudden, guess what? The oppression of the people probably would not have happened, because you would have realized these are people who are connected to a family who has done so much good for the kingdom. Maybe they don't need to be oppressed. But that's not how the story went. Pharaoh asked, what if these people join with my enemies? And the fear and the panic of that possibility, the fear of the unknown, drove him to a wrong decision, which inevitably brought about the suffering of Israelites and the whole story of Exodus. So the lesson for us today, as I think about it, and me included, I am in this category as well, is that we should not fear or dread the unknown. When we face the unknown, the best course of action is to ask, to learn, to investigate. Research, find out, and most importantly, do not fear what if, because most of the time, it doesn't even happen. I'm going to close with the words of Mark Twain. He was a very wise man, had his way with words. In his memoir, towards the end of his life, he wrote, I'm an old man. I have seen many troubles in my life, and most of them that I worried about did not come true.